At the beginning of this year, I sold and rented everything I had. I bought a ticket to Central America and moved to Costa Rica. Until now, temporarily, but for an indefinite amount of time. And because 2020 marked kind of a new beginning for me, I started to ask myself, what do I want out of life? It is a simple question, but not so easy to answer. And I think many people have the same problem. If we don't ask ourselves, we are likely just being pushed down the road of life without much control, and someone else will decide for us. I want to talk today about the lessons I learned about my professional life, and in no means I want to pretend that I have all the answers, which would not be true, but I want to tell you what I have learned so far, and maybe, just maybe, that helps someone out there. So let me give you a little bit of context. So when I was around 13, 14, I had to make a decision. I had to ask myself, what do I want to become? What do I want to spend my life working? And that would define my choice of high school. I was essentially deciding between a normal high school and a more specific educational program. That choice would later define my whole life and career. So I went to a technical school with a focus on civil engineering. And one day, the whole class visited a local company building prefab houses. So we got a tour, and the last station of the tour was the room of the team that was drawing plans for those projects. And while I was pretty excited about my career choice of engineering and that specific branch that I chose, suddenly reality hit. They were working on a few customer-specific requests for those houses and on a barn. And I can recall that seeing that made me feel this is not really what I want to do. And there was nothing wrong with what they were doing, and I at that point couldn't specify what I didn't like about it. However, I felt this was not the path that I want to go. It kind of felt very repetitive. So getting back to my dorm room, I was quiet down for the next few weeks, and that stuck with me until I graduated. In the last year of high school, I set my mind to study architecture. I thought that would be the perfect way out. I would go to study in the capital. I thought I would be able to work on much more exciting projects. In addition, I applied for the masterclass of Zaha Hadid, which I thought was going to be super exciting if I would get accepted. So with about 15 other people from hundreds that applied, I got indeed accepted in the class of Zaha Hadid. So during my 5 years, I worked with various architects, and in the last year, my wife Farina and I went on an internship to Beijing, China, to work in the office that belonged to Zaha Hadid. There we got introduced to a very different world of architecture and real estate, something that you just don't experience in Vienna. And in that time, we also got to know about a woman called Zanji, which is an immigrant woman from Burma that later got the title of the woman that built Beijing. Within 10 years, she became one of the most relevant real estate investors in China, and all that by starting out working in a factory. And I will put it that way, we got a taste for the world outside dealing with technical details, architecture, design, and we got interested in the world of business, MBAs, finance, revenue, sales, all these terms that didn't mean anything to an architectural student, at least not to me. So this experience was shortly before we graduated university. And again, I couldn't see myself sitting in an office, maybe in London, because a lot of prestigious offices are located there. I knew if I would go and work for an architect at that time, I will be pulling all-nighters, either drawing plans or 3D modeling the hell out of it, which again is a fine choice, but too repetitive. So now I wanted to learn about business. I felt if I don't do it now, I will be trapped into this bubble of architecture. Every industry has its bubble, but I simply wanted to get a taste of the other side of architecture, the business side, the financial side. So what we did is we started a business. We have never learned that much in such a short amount of time. And I would say that was probably the most valuable time I ever spent. So at the beginning of this year, I had to ask myself what I want for the next 5 to 10 years. I had collected so many impressions from different fields over the last 15 years that I felt I could do anything I want. But I stumbled upon the word fulfilling. There are millions of jobs out there, but we basically need to find this one or two things that are fulfilling to us. And I believe there are lots of people out there having a similar problem. How to discover what makes them unfulfilled and incomplete and how they can change that. Everyone grows up with a dream to become something one day. Often we outgrow those ideas, but in the same time, we end up not doing what we would really dream to do. And I get it, we are scared to leave our jobs because of time and effort we invested into our careers already. Also, it comes with change and uncertainty, which probably the majority of people are not comfortable with. The only person, however, who can make the change is ourselves, and I have come to ask myself 3 simple questions. The first one is, what's the thing that makes me wake up early? What's the thing that I cannot wait for doing when I wake up? The second one is, does it boost or corrupt my personal life? And the third one is, am I in control of my job, or is my job in control of me? And by answering those questions for myself, it became clear for me that I find fulfillment by learning new things and making new things. So I like to learn new stuff every day. My whole life now it's filmmaking, editing, storytelling, and I like to make things, for example this movie. And although that has not brought me to a clear job description, it has brought me closer to realizing my strengths and weaknesses, and that my true interest lies in working on projects that bring multiple creative disciplines together.